History of Christmas. Christmas is the annual Christian festival celebrating Christ's birth, held on December 25 in the Western Church. Christmas is celebrated to remember the birth of Jesus Christ, who Christians believe is the Son of God. The name Christmas comes from the Mass of Christ or Jesus. A Mass service, which is sometimes called Communion or Eucharist, is where Christians remember that Jesus died for us and then came back to life. Christmas is a shortened form of Christ's Mass. Christ is from Greek Christos, a translation of Hebrew Messiah, meaning anointed, and Mass is from Latin Missa, the celebration of the Eucharist. Xmas is an abbreviation of Christmas, found particularly in print, based on an initial letter Chi, X in Greek Christos, Christ. Though numerous style guides discourage its use, Christmas is now celebrated by people around the world, whether they are Christians or not. It's a time when family and friends come together and remember the good things they have. People, and especially children, also like Christmas, as it's a time when you give and receive presents. The traditional date of December 25 goes back as far as AD 273. Why do we celebrate on December 25th? No one knows the real birthday of Jesus. No date is given in the Bible. So why do we celebrate it on the 25th December? The early Christians certainly had many arguments as to when it should be celebrated. Also, the birth of Jesus probably didn't happen in the year 1 but slightly earlier, somewhere between 2 BC and 7 BC, possibly in 4 BC. There isn't a zero. The years go from 1 BC to 1. The first recorded date of Christmas being celebrated on December 25th was in 336, during the time of the Roman Emperor Constantine. He was the first Christian Roman emperor. But it was not an official Roman state festival at this time. However, there are many different traditions and theories as to why Christmas is celebrated on December 25. A very early Christian tradition said that the day when Mary was told that she would have a very special baby, Jesus, called the Annunciation, was on March 25th, and it's still celebrated today on the 25th March. 9 months after the 25th March is the 25th December. March 25th was also the day some early Christians thought the world had been made, and also the day that Jesus died on when he was an adult, Nisan 40 in the Jewish calendar, and they thought that Jesus was conceived and had died on the same day of the year. The theory centers around the date accepted by the Western Church of March 25 as the Annunciation or Immaculate Conception of Jesus in Mary's womb. December 25 is 9 months later and thus celebrated as the birthday of Jesus. Regardless of the possible reasons for the date, the church calendar was set in the West during Constantine's reign, while the Eastern Church held on to the date of January 6 for some time. Another theory. The winter solstice is the day where there is the shortest time between the sun rising and the sun setting. It happens on December 21st or 22nd in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, this time is the summer solstice and the winter solstice happens in late June. To pagans, this meant that they knew that the days would start getting lighter and longer and the nights would become shorter, marking a change in the seasons. To celebrate, people had a mid-winter festival to celebrate the sun winning over the darkness of winter. At this time, animals which had been kept for food were also often killed to save having to feed them all through the winter, and some drinks which had been brewing since the autumn harvest would also be ready to drink. So it was a good time to have a celebration with things to eat and drink before the rest of the winter happened. We still have New Year celebrations near this time now. In Scandinavia and some other parts of Northern Europe, the time around the winter solstice is known as Yule, although the word Yule only seems to date to about the year 300. In Eastern Europe, the midwinter festival is called Koleda. In Iranian Persian culture, the winter solstice is known as the Yalda night or Shab-e-Chal-e, and it's time when families and friends come together to eat, drink, and recite poetry. Shab-e-Chal-e means night of 40 as it happens 40 nights into winter. The word Yalda means birth and comes from early Christians living in Persia celebrating the birth of Jesus around this time. Eating fruits, nuts, pomegranates, and watermelons are important at Yalda Chali, and you can get Yalda cakes which look like watermelons. The Roman festival of Saturnalia took place between December 17 and 23rd and honored the Roman god Saturn. The Romans also thought that the solstice took place on December 25. It's also thought that in 274, the Roman Emperor Aurelian created Dies Natalias Solis Invicti, meaning birthday of the unconquered sun, also called Sol Invictus, and it was held on December 25th. Because of the dates, some people say that the Christians took over December 25th from these Roman festivals and/or Yule. However, there are records going back to around 200 of early Christians connecting the Nisan 14 to the 25th March, and so 25th December was a Christian festival date many years before Sol Invictus. More recent studies have also found that the Sol Invictus connection didn't appear until the 12th century, and it's from one scribbled note in the margins of a manuscript. There's also evidence that Sol Invictus might also have happened in October and not December anyway. Christmas had also been celebrated by the early church on January 6, when they also celebrated the Epiphany, which means the celebration that Jesus was God's Son in the baptism of Jesus. Like the December 25th date above, this was based on a calculation of Jesus' death, conception, but from the 6th April, not the 25th March. Now, Epiphany mainly celebrates the visit of the wise man to the baby Jesus, but back then, it celebrated both things. Jesus' baptism was originally seen as more important than his birth, as this was when he started his ministry. The Jewish Festival of Lights, Hanukkah, starts on the eve of the Kislev 25, the month in the Jewish calendar that occurs at about the same time as December. Hanukkah celebrates when the Jewish people were able to rededicate and worship in their temple in Jerusalem, again following many years of not being allowed to practice their religion. Jesus was a Jew, so this could be another reason that helped the early church choose December the 25th for the date of Christmas. Most of the world uses the Gregorian calendar implemented by Pope Gregory XIII in 1582. Before that, the Roman or Julian calendar was used, named after Julius Caesar. The Gregorian calendar is more accurate than the Roman calendar, which had too many days in a year. Christians believe that Jesus is the light of the world, so the early Christians thought that this was the right time to celebrate the birth of Jesus. They also took over some of the customs from the winter solstice and gave them Christian meanings, like holy, mistletoe, and even Christmas carols. From Jewish Chanukah to pagan winter solstice to Germanic Yule to Roman Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, birth of the unconquered sun. The sheer number of celebration days with trees, decorations, Yule logs, mistletoe, and feasts seem to point to a season of celebration to which Christians added the birth of Jesus as a counter, cultural event, and possibly even an escape from the pagan holidays for early believers. December 25th was the Saturnalia festival of emancipation, gift-giving, and the triumph of light after the longest night. The Christian sees the truth implicit in this pagan tradition that reflects Christ, the light of the world, his triumph over the night of sin in Luke 1:78-79.